on the ball today. I even felt exempted from the law today. It's like this revelation dawned on me. It's so amazing, help support the cause. I get everyone involved. I feel like I'm on the ball today. I even felt exempted from the law today. It's like this revelation dawned on me. It's so amazing, help support the cause.
Good morning, great morning. Welcome back to another Nudelberg Daily Huddle. And as Scott Garber, who is already popping into the comments, he is saying, bang, bang, specialist gang. Yes, sir. We excited for this Huddler in the hot seat today. Roberto Aguayo will be sitting with us, a fellow Knoll, a national champion, a specialist, a kicker, a good friend, and somebody who has a wonderful story about how he came up, how he found success, how he's transitioned through a couple of different milestones in his life to continue to find success. And he's just a really wonderful person. So super excited to get to spend time with him, have a conversation. And for those of you who don't really know the backdrop of us, I was a young special teams coach at Florida State when he was a redshirt freshman. And we have plenty of funny stories about getting yelled at by Eddie Grand because he was kicking the ball too far for the scout team. So all kinds of great stuff like that. But so Nick Mao is here this morning. Good morning, Nick, a fellow Knoll. Rich Pusateri, good to see you guys. We're not going to waste a ton of time. We're going to get this thing rolling. So Shay, give us the daily affirmation so that we can get our minds right before we get started. Unseen forces are at work for you. The universe is conspiring to bring you all that you have been asking for. Trust in your journey and know that you will end up where you want to be. Super important to recognize in that you have to actually ask for it. The universe is conspiring to bring you what you ask for. So if you are putting negative crap out there, it is going to bring you negative crap. And if you are asking for the right things, if you're asking for the things that you truly want and willing to put in the work every day to get it, the universe will bring it to you, regardless of who or how you believe that that's at power. So great stuff. We've got wake up music for you. We've got walk up music for you. And then we've got Roberto Aguayo joining us on the show. Let's go.
Spend my dollar, park in a holler 'neath the mountain moonlight. Hold her up tight, make a little lovin', a little turn lovin' on a Mason-Dixon night. Fits my life, oh so right, my Dixieland delight.
Wonderful walk-up song. Roberto, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can't see you at the moment, but we're not gonna overdo that. It doesn't really matter. I can hear you. That's what's important. It's great to have you on the show with us this morning. Thank you for being here. Super excited. Oh, there you go. You're popping in now. Super excited to have you on the show. And can't wait for you to be able to share your story. Love Dixieland Delight as your walk-up song. You want to give people a little background on why that song?
Yeah. So when you guys asked me yesterday of a walkout song to put on the show, I was thinking like, well, what am I gonna put on there? And I think a classic is the Dixieland Delight. I lived in Birmingham for a little bit while I was training, and I know Alabama plays that, and it's just a good, uplifting, fun song.
I love it. No, that it most certainly is. And so so you talked about living in Birmingham a little bit while you were training. I gave everybody a little bit of a backdrop on how you and I connected early at Florida State, early in your career there. But give everybody a good understanding about where you come from, how you got to Florida State, a little bit about your playing career and what's going on now.
Yeah, so we go way back. I remember watching when I was in high school. I was watching you, be right next to Bobby Bowden all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and when I started kicking, and when I went to camps, and when I went to the first Florida State camp, you were there. And I remember telling my parents, I'm like, "That's the guy that's always next to Coach Bowden." And that's where our friendship started. And I had the opportunity to play at Florida State and get recruited on a scholarship there. And then played there I started redshirted in 2012, and then won a national championship in 13. And we had a great team there, a lot of great guys. After drafted, played in the NFL, bounced around a couple teams. And speaking of the Birmingham, I was there training with my brother a couple years ago. So it's a good spot. It's meeting the people there. Alabama's different, but it's fun. It was a good experience. Now I'm in Gardens in Palm Beach County, back in Palm Beach County. I originally moved here in 2019, but been out and have come back. So that's kind of the fast
Yeah.
Spark Notes version.
So my
But we'll get
brother
into it
was
more.
actually remembering when you came to camp, because my brother was young
Yeah.
when he would come up and stay with me for the summer while we had camps, and he remembered your visit. Do you remember the story about how you performed at that camp?
So was it when Marshall Morgan was there?
It was when Marshall Morgan was there. And do you remember
Yeah,
what happened
yeah,
to your
I remember.
cleat?
It ripped.
It busted.
It ripped, right?
It
Yeah, I
busted.
know, I know, I know, I know. Actually, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
I
I
remember
had
I taped it
forgotten
up.
about it
I taped it
too,
up.
and Jake brought it up the other day. So, like, and this to me is, I think, is a great place for us to start our story, right? Because you were one of the top kickers in the country. You were, highly touted in terms of talent, but that doesn't really matter for specialists. I mean, today's game is a little bit different, but ultimately, you still had to show up in camp and compete, and you were competing against the other
Mhm.
really good kickers in the country. And talk about dealing with adversity in the very beginning of your career. Your cleat breaks, and you could have done a
Yeah,
lot of different things. You could have said, "Oh, well, I can't kick without my cleats." You could have demanded new ones. You could have totally sat
yeah.
out. You could have made an excuse on why you weren't going to perform as well, but you didn't. What did you do?
So just found an athletic trainer. Hey, do you guys have some tape? Tape this thing up. I mean, I was having a great camp. It was kind of, do or die for me. I want to impress. I want to show and show well. And I mean, the only way I wrap this cleat up, I can get by. I can get through. And really now looking back at it and thinking, I really didn't let the moment, get to me. It's more so of like, oh, my cleat you ripped. Let me just tape it up and we'll get back to it. So I think just kind of not making the moment bigger than it was. It's just my cleat
Mm.
rip, allowed me to come in, and maybe that was one of the reasons that Coach Fisher gave me the scholarship. But I know the adversity there with the cleat.
It's spot on, because I mean, I know I was in the room as we were talking about it after, and to me, it was such a standout moment for you in terms of mental toughness, in terms of like, oh wow,
Mhm.
okay, there's going to be talented kids out there, but look at the way he handled this moment. Where does that come from? Where did that come from for you? Like, did that come from your parents? And tell us a little bit about, I think, because people don't understand what it's like to be a kicker, especially if they don't know
Yeah.
football. So I think if you can give people
Yeah.
context around what it really means to have mental toughness, particularly in that position, I think that would be great.
Yeah. So being a specialist, part of the specialist kind of persona, and being the kicker. The punters and long snappers go through it as well, but more so the kicker has the spotlight. If you miss a field goal, everyone blaming you. If you make a field goal, you take the and your holder are there. But really, and it's think about it as an individual sport inside a team. Around a bunch of other guys, you only get maybe 2, 3, 4 opportunities a game, and no one really understands what all goes into hitting that ball between the uprights. And it's I can tell people and try to get them to understand and compare it to sometimes when everything's going well, and, the ball's uprights seem wide, but maybe something isn't going well, you're not hitting it right, you don't know if you're not hitting it right, the uprights seem small, and with the quarterback has 35, he can 3, you might only have one opportunity to go out there, and you have to sit on that miss for a whole week until you can go out again and make another field goal. So it's a lot of coaches and a lot of people will think kickers are weird. I think I considered myself an athlete being a kicker. I played other positions, but I try to make it's an important part of the game, and no one sees it until you make that game-winning field goal, or you made that field goal in the third quarter to put us up by 2 or 3. But it's a tough. It's a the guys before me and seeing the guys after me. It's you feel for them, you understand them. But I think it builds you to be a great person. However, if you make it all the way to pro, in high school, in college, the values and what you learn being or playing that position help you a lot in your next endeavors.
So I want to touch on some of that because I think a lot of people can relate when things are going well, you feel like you're in the zone, or you feel like the goalposts are wider. And when things are tough, it feels like it's narrow, particularly in sales. When there's a lot of opportunity coming in, when there's a lot of conversations happening, it feels easy. And then all of a sudden, if you're off your pace for your quota, or you're not getting a ton of traction, you're not getting conversations, feels like you're really pushing that boulder up the mountain. I know when it comes to kicking, it comes back to your process. What are your disciplines? What are the things you're doing before every kick, during every practice? So talk to people a little bit about how you maintained a process and how you focused on that, so that you weren't focused on the outcomes, but more on what you needed to do to be successful.
Yep. And it correlates a lot to sales. And I like how you brought that up, because there's a process needed for everything. Right. And I translate a lot of what I learned, and what my process was, as an athlete into sales and into business. The process for me, considered a pre-shot routine, right? Every time the team crossed the 50-yard line, I'd go hit one ball in the net. I'd wait. I'd already checked the wind. I know where the play clock's at. I know how much time it takes me to run out on the field. So I know I'm not going to be rushed when the clock's running down. All these little things have been already I's dotted, T's crossed. Holder knows when to tell me if I don't have enough time. He's looking at the play clock. He's counting the guys on the line. I don't have to worry about that. I pick a spot. I walk into my steps, take my steps back, take my steps to the side. One more look down, nod, and it's go time from there. So there's no thinking involved once you're in that position. And translating it to business is, there's a moment when you're going to be in the game, when you have to make that pitch, or you have that big meeting. You gotta sell what you gotta sell. But all the work happens before that, right? During the week, you're practicing. You're looking at your product. You're looking at whatever you have to do to be prepared for that meeting. So all the work gets done there in practice, right? That's when you can mess up. That's when you can figure out, maybe I should go about it this way. Maybe I should go about it that way. And then the other part that's a lot of people don't really think about is the mental part, right? So once you're done working on your product, when you're going to sleep at night, are you telling yourself positive affirmations? I like the affirmation this morning on the show, right? Think positive. Think this meeting. Visualize the meeting before the game. I visualize me walking the stadium, walking out, going to that field goal. Your brain doesn't know it's doing it in the moment or not. So if you're visually, thinking about your meeting, thinking about your pitch, whatever you have to do that's so important, when you come into that moment, it's like it's like deja vu, right? Your brain has this has already happened, so you're comfortable. Yep. You do your pitch. Trust it. It's not gonna be all go planned as accordingly. So things might change, but you got to adapt. And as long as you trusted your process and gave it your shot, you can really.
God, you're dropping all of my favorite phrases and favorite words. Trust the process, routine. Like it's all the words that I love and all the things that I know are so important. I want to ask you a question because while there are a ton of similarities that we just drew, right? Process, preparation, mental conditioning, visualization, all of those things make you successful in sports or in business. Either one doesn't matter, but it's not the same. You and I both know Saturdays are not the same as working in your business, and having a game day and being in a locker room and being part of a team are different than being in business. It can be close and you can try to replicate it, and there's great benefits to business as well, but it's not the same. How has it been for you adjusting out of sports and into business, carrying those parallels, but then also recognizing that it's not exactly the same? What's that been like?
So, and that's a good question, because I was trying to figure out and see. Obviously, I knew it wasn't going to be the same. I wasn't going to be on the field in front of 100,000 fans, people watching on TV. But so you don't get that kind of same adrenaline rush, but
right
there is an objective, goals that you have to meet, and much like playing, the goals you have to hit, the games you have to win to get to the playoffs or to get to the championship or a bowl game. But so it goes the same way into business, right? You set your plan, what you want to be, where you want to be at in 6 months, what it's going to take to get there, and then just focus on the little daily goals, right? The daily wins. Don't focus on the big picture. As long as you mapped out your process and you tell yourself, this is what I have to do to get there, and you trust it. It's hard sometimes you get distracted, and it's important to have mentors and who, in sports are your coaches, to keep you on track. Maybe sometimes you might not realize that sometimes you're going off track, and you need that, hey man, hey, let's get back on track. So having your I like using this term, your internal board of directors in your job and your firm, and your external board of directors, your mentors externally, talking to them, making sure, hey, I this is what I'm doing. Am I on the right track to get where I want to go in a year, and 3 years, and 5 years?
So you hit on it, like, have I mapped out my process and have I built my system? And I think this is the real disconnect for people who are in athletics and when they transfer to business is when you play at the highest level, when you play major Division I college football, when you play NFL football, the system is in place. They're not asking you, they're not going to build a new system. The system is there. The coaches have a system that they're trying to implement, and you're asked to fall in line with that. So you don't have to really create anything. You just are you're being asked to fall in line with what's there. When you get into business, I've found there's very few organizations that truly have a system for you to follow. They have like a light system and they have some basic training they're going to give you up front, but they don't have a day in, day out. This is what I'm going to ask you to be accountable to. And if you do that, I promise you you'll be successful. How did you build your own system? Who did you look to? Where were the influences that helped you get that same kind of direction?
So, and you bring up a good point. I think when you're in major Division I sports in professional leagues, they kind of have everything built for you, right? They tell you, they give you the itinerary. They tell you what time you got to wake up, what time you got to be at weights, what time you got to be at breakfast, what time class is, when practice is. So you got your whole day scheduled already, and you just have to show up. And that's almost, it's helpful in the moment. It's great because all you have to focus on is going to school and playing on the field. But it kind of hurts some guys when they leave, they transition to the corporate world, and like, okay, like what time do I gotta be there? I had all this stuff given to me or provided for me, but now that I'm on my own, I have to myself also perform and complete my task. So I struggle with that a little bit. I kind of like, okay, you know, I have to do this. I would remember or so really getting organizational skills on point, having a calendar, throwing everything on the calendar, set reminders, and you're going to struggle through it. Everybody's different. Some people, like a certain process. Some people like another process, but you got to build something that it fits you, works for you. And you're gonna stumble along the way. You're gonna make mistakes. Now you're not gonna transition smoothly and be perfect. But I think that's one of the main struggles with athletes transitioning. And now that I've transitioned into the business world, I like helping to me that are in the process of transitioning, not only football but golf or another sport, and saying, hey man, like you've done it. And that's kind of something that I wish I would have done more is reach out for those mentors. And how'd you do it? Sometimes I get stuck on, no, I'm going to do it by myself. I'm going to do it on my own, where go ask for help. People will be more than glad to help. And at the end of the day, it makes your job easier. You don't have to go through those struggles.
Roberto, you dropped a ridiculous amount of nuggets on this show, from mental conditioning to having a process and a routine, to understanding how to ask for help and have mentors and seek guidance and get coaching, and all of that being the fundamentals of success, whether you're in sport or in business. This show is amazing. So thank you so much for taking the time to do it and sharing all of this. You have a lot going on. You've got your kicking academy. You're entering out into your own entrepreneurial journey with that. You've got a couple other things that you're working on in business. I'm sure there are a lot of people who would like to have a conversation with you. If people want to get in touch with you in order to connect with you and have conversations, what's the best way for them to do that?
So they can go on rakickingacademy.com if they want to go via that route. The email is on there. Always connect on LinkedIn. I don't know if you have the LinkedIn profile, but
LinkedIn profile is up there as well. We've got that in the comments, and we've got the website.
You're big on LinkedIn, so yeah.
Yep. It's awesome.
But no, busy with the academy and all these things that we spoke about is the philosophy and what I like to teach the guys. And so get working along, busy, but excited for what the future has, and keep working, keep trusting the process.
Roberto, you're the best. It was so great to do this with you. Thank you for all of the wonderful nuggets. As Rich already says, this was a great show. There's no doubt about that. Have a great weekend. To everybody that's in the Nudelberg Daily Huddle community and the Get on the Ball community, remember the grind includes Saturday and Sunday. Do a little bit extra this weekend to get you a lot of bit ahead by the end of the year. So, Roberto, thank you. I love you. You're the best. Cannot wait to catch up with you in person. To everybody else, have a great weekend. Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down.